right, good morning everybody. Welcome back. So this video, what can we expect from the EV industry and from Tesla and that moving forward? First off, I don't have a crystal ball, so spoiler for you, I don't know. But in this video, I wanted to discuss a few things that we can potentially expect. I apologize for the glare here. I'll be turning right shortly and the sun will be behind us. But there are a few sort of market indicators that we can look at. And as a Tesla owner and as somebody that is all about electric propulsion, for those of you that don't know, I not only own this Tesla Model 3, but I build a lot of electric propulsion projects in my shop, electric bicycles, go-karts, skateboards, that kind of thing. Model 3 right there, beautiful car with a white interior, 20-inch wheels, probably a performance model. Anyway, so I do have gas cars, but I am all about electric propulsion, and I keep my, oh, speaking of, there's a Nissan Leaf, not the most attractive car, but they do look good in white. Anyway, I like to keep my my finger on the pulse of what's going on with EVs on average and you know, as a whole. And what I'm seeing is in the last, well, I've had this car for about 13 months, definitely within that 13 months, but I'd say strongly within the last couple of months, 2-3 months or so, I'm beginning to see the beginnings of the wholesale shift of mindset from gas cars are great and electric cars are crappy golf carts to, oh, electric cars are just another car that it has some differences. And the view of the general public is shifting in that direction. Now, part of me is a little bit bummed out. I like the specialness of having an electric car. There's something that's kind of attractive about that, to know that I'm sort of in a unique category in that. And electric cars will be unique for some time. But when I bought my hybrid, I bought a brand new 2013 Ford C-Max hybrid. When I bought that car back in, what was it, May of 2013, I think it was, hybrids were, I don't want to say rare. Everyone knew of a Prius that was out there somewhere, but hybrids were not really the common thing yet. Now they're super common. You see them everywhere. So now you tell someone you have a hybrid and it's like, oh, you know, it's kind of like saying, well, I have an SUV. Oh, you have an SUV. Okay, whatever. You know, there's a lot of them out there. And EVs, when I bought this car, were super rare, at least in my area. But they're not so rare anymore. And there's less of this spaceship foreign mindset in people's psyche than there was even a year back when I bought this car. Now, there is a resurgence that I'm seeing in interest in my car when I start to talk to people about it. But when I first bought it, it was, you know, more a, wow, why would anyone spend that much on something that's going to die, on a technology that's going to die, on a company that's going to die, blah, blah, blah. That was kind of the shocked mindset that people had. Now it's, wow, we really like the car, it's really cool. EVs aren't quite as rare, but, you know, tell us about owning a Tesla. You know, I'm excited about EVs, I want to learn more. That's kind of the mindset. Not that anyone has ever used those words in talking to me, but it used to be a, you know, this, goodness, you did what? You spent what? On a new car company? What are you, insane? You know, it was that attitude. Now that's not the case anymore. It's more a matter of, you took the plunge a year back. You know, you're driving only electric for your business. What's this like? You know, are you pleased that you did it? What happened to your electric bill? You know, how much did it go up for charging the car? And all these legitimate good questions are being asked at this point. And And I like that. Now, again, the specialness of this car really is waning, and but that's fine. That's fine. I mean, Teslas are still premium cars, whatever, but the specialness is diminishing, and I think that for me personally, where I see the market going, I think that the growth of EV adoption is going to continue, but it's going to be non-linear. I think it's going to be sort of an exponential thing where, right now, I don't have the exact numbers, but it's somewhere around roughly 2% of the buying public will purchase an EV. And I think that it's not going to grow, next year it'll be 3%, the year after that it'll be 4%, the year after that it'll be 5%. It's not going to be linear. I think it's going to be exponential or logarithmic. I believe that there's the adoption and the purchase of EVs is going to accelerate, and that rate of acceleration will increase. So it will, like compounding interest, it will grow on each year's previous growth at a more rapid rate. And why do I say that? Well, a couple of things. First off, the cost of batteries is dropping. Now, I know there's a counter to that, and that is that the world does not have the mining capacity. That mining companies aren't looking for new lithium stores, and we're not. If the world couldn't support everybody buying an EV today. It's just there's not enough lithium being mined to support that. Also, the electric grids couldn't support charging all those cars. So it's not going to happen, overnight. And even if it did, we couldn't fill those orders. We couldn't charge the cars. But it's the charging capability is increasing, and the ability to mine those materials is increasing. Battery technology is improving. So what I'd like to see is batteries that don't require as much lithium and other materials that are difficult to obtain. But that's another side topic. But what I do see is major auto manufacturers. This is obvious. I'm not saying anything no one no one knew. But Jaguar and Audi, and the electric cars that are out there right now. And the additional electric cars that are coming to fruition, major auto manufacturers talking about electrifying their fleets. Now, that doesn't mean pure EV, but that's EV and hybrid, to where they'll all have some electrification in their propulsion system over the next few years, and things are beginning to shift. So now, is that shift by the manufacturers due to the buying public? Is it due to government regulation? Is it due to media influence? Is it due, what's causing that? Well, I think that there's a blend of those things, and I honestly think that here in the States, the majority of it is government regulation, because you don't look at, 2% of the market, I want to dive into the 2% of the market. No, you're going to look at what's 60% of the market, trucks, SUVs, whatever. What's the larger part of the market? I'm going to go after that. But at least our government, and there are other governments around the world that are pressing for EVs. Now, to a large extent, I disagree with government incentives, and I disagree with the government's forcing certain markets. But there are some benefits to this. And so I think it's a good thing that the government penalized smoking. Smoking is nasty. It's disgusting. Sorry if you're a smoker watching my channel. It just is. I grew up with 2 chain smokers in the house, and I hated every single second of it. Oh my gosh. If I could be out of the house, I got out of the house. Not just the smoking, but the filthy ashtrays everywhere. And to a large extent, gas cars are the filthy ashtray of the world. Now, I own a gas car. Recent video of mine where I talk about the BMW that I own and how much I love that car. So there are, I think that there's a place for for burning of liquid fuel. That being said, though, we need the bulk of transportation to go electric. And for those of you that say that, well, we have to charge those cars, you're burning coal, you're burning, whatever to charge those cars, there's a lot of truth to that. Here's the thing, though. You can charge electric cars with wind power, with solar, whatever. And I know that the bulk of power generation is still burning of fuel and, coal and that. I get it. But it is changing to renewables, and it can continue and will continue to change. When you have a gas vehicle, you can't slowly make it solar. It just is what it is. And in fact, over time, it's going to become not hugely less efficient, but it's going to become gradually less efficient. With an electric car becomes greener and more efficient over time. As we learn how to produce energy in a clean way and in a more efficient way, electric vehicles will become more efficient just by their very nature, because the source of their energy is becoming more efficient. Electric vehicles are far less maintenance intense. Now, they will need some maintenance. They're going to need tires, or whatever, but electric vehicles really don't wear out brakes because of the electric regen. There's no oil changes, transmission fluid changes, belts, alternators, water pumps, radiators, exhaust systems. That stuff isn't present. Electric cars do have a tiny radiator for cooling the electronics, but they don't wear out. Why don't they wear out? Well, because in a gas engine, you have a huge temperature difference between the ambient air and the engine. In an electric car, there's very, very, very little heat generated at all in the battery and the inverter and the motor. Very, very little heat. So you only need a tiny radiator, and it's not cooling, 210 degree fluid running through it. It's cooling, fluid that's 10 degrees above the ambient temperature or whatever. And so it's not working as hard. You don't have the thermal shock going on there. And so electric cars really don't have much to wear out. Now, I know that critics will say, yeah, but once you need a battery, that's ungodly expensive in an electric car. Okay, I give you that. But how many electric cars have needed replacement batteries? I mean, think about it. I know that the Nissan Leaf had an issue there for a while where people that were in the hotter states, Arizona and that, the air cooling temperature management system of the batteries was really inadequate, and so the batteries were going bad. But that was an early thing, and only in hot climates, and their batteries were pretty reasonably priced. So, but in general, EVs just don't wear out batteries. I've never heard of anyone wearing out a motor. I found there was one guy online that had a Model 3 that, like, the week he bought it, the motor went out. Well, that was a production flaw, and it was covered under warranty. But as far as needing replacement batteries out of warranty, I know that most EVs are still under warranty, but we're not going to see battery replacements like we're going to see, even engines in gas cars. I know several people that have needed an entire new engine in their car eventually. And so we're not going to need batteries for replacement batteries for EVs nearly that frequently. So my analysis of what's going to happen, first off, with the EV market as a whole, we're going to, as I mentioned before, we're going to see a continued increase in the percentage of vehicles purchased that are EVs. People need choices, though. They need options. We need more EVs that are less than $50,000 or $60,000. The problem with the Audi e-tron, the Jaguar I-Pace, they're Model X money. They're expensive. So we need more EVs. They don't have to be 25 grand, but let's call it 40,000 and under. $38,000 or so is probably around the sweet spot. Get it under that $40,000 mark. We need more EVs that are at that price range. I would say this: $38,000, 250 miles of range, and people will start buying them. Now, being able to travel with them is another critical thing that Tesla has currently sort of a deadlock on their charging industry, charging infrastructure. But we will continue to see an adoption of EVs, but that rate will it's not going to be linear. It will grow at an exponential rate. Now, what's the time frame? I don't have a crystal ball, but I'll say this. I would say that over the next probably 2 or 3 years, you'll see a gradual increase. Give it probably 4 or 5 years, and that's when the wholesale switch over from gas cars to electric will begin to become obvious. That's not when it's going to happen, but it will begin to become obvious. I think that we're 5 years away from the mining being where it needs to be to get the minerals we need. We are probably 5 years away from autonomy and that side of things. So I give it about 4 or 5 years to really start to see that increase in adoption ramp up drastically. Now with Tesla, I would say that what do I see in Tesla's future? Well, don't take what I say and go buy their stock or do whatever. Don't be crazy. But what do I see with Tesla? I would say, for me, I think that every year that Tesla's been around has been a critical year. This is a critical year for Tesla. This is a critical year. Every year is critical when you're a new company. But I would say that this next year, it will be, the last year in this whole Model 3 thing has been super critical for Tesla. And I think the next year is going to be even more critical. The reason I say that is they have a lot of irons in the fire at this point. In fact, everyone asks me about the Roadster and am I going to get a Roadster and blah, blah, blah. Honestly, I think the Roadster is going to be pretty drastically delayed because Tesla needs to focus on what's going to earn them multiple, tens of billions of dollars. That's what they need to focus on. And so we're going to see much more focus on the Model Y and autonomy. Tesla has, unfortunately, I think, put too much weight on the autonomous vehicle thing, and that being the future of their company. Now, I think to a large extent that there's some truth to that, but I think there is also some truth to the critics who say, well, Tesla no longer can, feels they can make money just at vehicles, so now they're calling themselves an autonomous, technology firm because they know they can't make money on vehicles, so it's autonomy, and they're putting all their eggs in the autonomy basket. I think there's a little bit of truth to that, but I think that's an oversimplification and an overstatement. But I do believe that if Tesla wants to be a leader or the leader or whatever in the EV thing, they currently are, but if they want to remain the leader in the EV industry, I think that autonomy is what they need to push for. That's where it's at. Partly because vehicle autonomy is not electric vehicle dependent, but it does. The autonomous vehicle technology lends itself much more to EVs than it does to gasoline cars, and so I think that Tesla will be focusing more on the autonomous side. I think they're recognizing how difficult it really is to make a car that will truly drive itself in any and all conditions. I think they underestimated that, woefully underestimated it in the past. And I think that they're going to be focusing more on appealing to the worldwide market. I think they also need to begin doing some, if not advertising, I would say maybe some public education programs. And maybe that will be assigning a dozen new Teslas to all the major cities, metropolitan areas, and with a program to get people behind the wheel and not make it fancy cars. Make it the most bare bones basic Model 3 that they can get out there. So a bunch of sub $40,000 cars out there so people can see what the typical person can afford. Here's what EVs are like. Let people drive them around. I mean, really drive them, not zip around the block, but let them drive it for 5, 6, 7, 8 miles, each person, and interview them. And I really think that this is something that's needed. The public needs to be educated on the technology. So what I think you're going to see happen is more public education. I see that there are other manufacturers besides just Tesla looking at vehicle fires, battery fires, and how to prevent them. They are still a very rare occurrence, electric vehicle fires. There are way more gas vehicle fires per 1,000 vehicles of ownership than there are EV fires per 1,000 vehicles of EV ownership. So a lot of people don't realize that, but still, since the public opinion is focused on EV fires, I think it's wise to pursue that, to try and, ease the public's worry on EV fires. I think that we who own EVs, not just Teslas, but EVs in general, need to tell people around us what the benefits are. My daughter that has a little smart electric drive, it's in the summer, I think it's about 90 miles of range, but she rarely drives it more than 60 or 70 miles on a charge, just because, she doesn't want to run down to zero. So even though hers is a very limited use car, she uses it all the time. Every single day that car gets driven, and she talks to people about it. And it was an inexpensive used car, and it's pretty maintenance free. They've put tires on it. They had a blown fuse. The wipers didn't work once, but other than that, it's a reliable car. It's a great little car. So we as EV owners need to be, I don't want to say evangelists for the cause, but we need to be willing to share with people. I got to be honest with you, there's days I'm in a bad mood. I pull into a client's driveway, or I pull into a store, and sure enough, here comes somebody to ask me about the car, and I'm thinking, I don't want to talk to anybody right now, but I have to force myself to put on a happy face. Oh, how do you like your car? Well, 40,000+ miles so far, and I've only ever added washer fluid to it. I go through the whole spiel. And we need to do that more if we expect people to accept the new technology, because I think even gas vehicle owners recognize that EVs are the future. Now, they may be happy or unhappy with it, but most gas vehicle owners recognize that EVs are the future, that this is the direction that we're headed, and that there's no way around it, so to speak. It is what it is. And I think that it would be wise for us that like EVs to explain the benefits of EVs. And so anyway, long-winded video, but that's my take on the near future and what I see approaching. I'm excited for my kids and grandkids to see what the cool technology that they're going to be witnessing, and not really excited about the world and the political climate, but I'm excited about technology for the future. So anyway, thanks a lot, guys. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up. My referral code will be a link in the description below. So you guys have yourselves a wonderful day. Take it easy now.